Schools of magic, witchcraft, sorcery, alchemy, and occultism train certified magicians, witches, sorcerers, alchemists, and occultists. For these individuals, for obvious reasons, the book remains hidden. However, the awakened being respects them, although he does not believe in them, just as he does not believe in incorporations or the incorporated, while still respecting them. A simple look at history, its narratives, and some texts produced by both the certified and the pure, is enough to enlighten an attentive being. Even if the attentive being is partially awakened, he tends to be quite cautious with those who proclaim themselves holders of power over others, who claim to be sent from above, or who boast of conversations with superior beings, visits to mythical places, or other dimensions. There are moments when the being gets lost in proliferations, but even weeds grow, multiply, and fulfill their role. Today, the manifested being carefully observes each of the movements he makes at every moment of his time. He recognizes the uselessness of many of these movements, and the fragility of each body that contains them. He acknowledges the senselessness and the total lack of purpose of his presence in a manifestation where ignorance and incomprehension prevail. What is proposed to him is the acceptance of mystery and submission to a divine order. Furthermore, unimaginable possibilities and promises linked to obedience to his apparent choices are offered to him. This discourse places him face to face with the certainty that this random movement is apparent and follows a principle. Understanding this principle reveals the scheme of creation, the purpose of the existence of things, the way they are constructed, and how interactions are manipulated. Thus, it becomes evident how things work, why they work this way, and who is in command. The justifications and explanations, attributed to everything and everyone, to justify their existence and functionality, are nothing more than mere speculative arguments, devoid of meaning. These arguments aim to sabotage the being, attempting to prevent or reduce his questioning. The being dialogues with himself, in deep intimacy, distancing himself from the influential and the influences. This dialogue leads him to understanding. The being recognizes himself as the sole master of himself, despite having been, for a time, lost in the schemes of parallel agents. The work consists of reclaiming the leadership delegated to the imposed life. Any position assigned in the hierarchy of creation does not attract him, nor arouse his interest. King, vassal, lord, slave, bacterium, or star, all these distinctions become irrelevant to the one who loses autonomy over his own power. Accepting anything as a gift from the gods is the absurd conformism from which the being frees himself. Nothing that is imposed as life, or as something living, has any relation to the being, it is merely palliatives that sustain the illusion. It no longer matters the potion swallowed, or the time the being remained anesthetized and lost in the environment. The essential is the recovery of the leadership that was granted, and the reclaiming of seniority. There are no more questions in plenitude. The recognition of the false elevates the being through the work of transformation. All figures and allegories show nothing else. It is essential to emphasize that any position, title, possession, or function attributed to the being holds no real importance. The being who accepts and gives thanks for such attributions and submits to them inevitably surrenders to the prison and domination of time. Considering oneself privileged, or chosen by the gods or the heavens, is the greatest foolishness a being can inflict upon himself, besides being the greatest encouragement to the smile of ignorance. This model, called life, is not broken. It must be faced and placed in its proper position, subordinated to the being and his understanding. This model does not disappear, for if its existence were unnecessary, it would not have been created. The being, however, offers it the respect that promotes harmony in coexistence. However, the breadth that the new perspective provides finds nothing in the universe that can express it, since everything has been shaped to the limits of the transient being. The transformed being is no longer a guest, but the author of the book that led him to transformation. A book that, although necessarily hidden in times of darkness, never distanced itself from the being.